Hey there, everybody. New studio, new intro. I'm just here to remind you guys before you listen to today's episode, make sure you follow the show and subscribe wherever you listen. If you watch the show on YouTube, make sure you subscribe there, you comment, you like, and you share. Also, follow my social media, all of it, both Instagrams, my Twitter, follow it all. Your life is to be consumed by my life. Tell everybody that you know about me. Start conversations with the fact that the Smoking Simian is your favorite podcast. Bombard everyone that you know and love with the Smoking Simian. Send them links day in and day out of my show, of the episodes, of my posts. Get thrown out of your house because the only thing that you care about is the Smoking Simian. Do it. Enjoy today's episode. Bye-bye. Hello, everybody, and good morning. Today is a very special day. It is a very special day for the Smoking Simian and their audience because we are officially, and right to the day, too, who would have thought, we are at 2 years of doing this motherfucking shit show of a podcast. And in 2 years, I can do nothing but thank you guys for helping me grow just an idea into something that is a little more of an idea, but still nobody cares about. Roughly. Just to kind of look back and think about where this show started. When I first started this show, I didn't have the intentions of making it entirely a comedy podcast like it is now. Like I've adopted, I guess I should say, since moving to New London and fucking everything up in my life. But doing it for a dream, I guess, some valiant effort that we all feel like we're compelled to do. We're all drawn to something that makes us devote a fair amount of time to in all different kinds of ways. And for me, it is screaming into microphones and getting people to notice me for the maniacal, insane shit that I come on here and say. And then after a year of doing that, I was like, we need to get back up on stage. And it really sparked my interest back into stand-up comedy. So if I could say anything about the podcast, the top thing that it's done for me was get me to realize that this is what I want to do, get me to realize that I have to put in time to make this shit happen. And, it really just got me comfortable with going back up on stage and being funny. But to bring you back to 2 years ago, August 4th, 2020... it was a great time in the midst of a pandemic, one that I'm hoping happens again. In August of 2020, I think at the end of it was when I went back to work. But up until then, I was having a ball, as some of us were, some of us weren't. Some of us wanted to go back to work. Some of us wanted to go back out in the world, which is funny, right? Because the whole time you're working, you're like, God, I hate this fucking place. I hate everything about it. I dislike my coworkers. I hate the actual task that I do. The people I deal with are fucking shit. I wish something would come along that I would stop. I don't have to work anymore. Maybe I hit the lottery. Maybe just anything. Please, Christ, I am begging you. That's what the pandemic was. It was all the prayers of frustrated employees answered. And then we finally get exactly what we've been asking for. You don't have to work. No more working. Just sit at home, collect money, more money than you would have made if you were at work. Sit at home, do whatever the fuck you want, but don't you dare come into this office because we're closed. We're closed for as long as we have to be, and you're going to get money for it. And people were complaining. Now you want to complain. All those years of working your mindless retail job, clocking in at Target, putting on your red shirt, dealing with moms, dealing with upset children, old people who don't know how to use their rewards cards, and every day you contemplate driving your car off the side of the interstate. And finally, Finally, an opportunity to not have to do that, but still be able to live and make a living. Yes, maybe your grandmother dies in the hospital alone because you can't go in there. Maybe that happens, but that didn't happen to you. You got to live. You got to enjoy the spoils. And Lord knows not everybody was sitting in their house like they should have. You know, we were out having fun in different ways, going for rides, going on hikes, going to different places, living in different places for a little bit. You know, taking little trips, going here, going there. The midst of the pandemic was not as bad as people are going to write about and going to remember, especially because not that many people died. A lot of people died, but relatively, percentage-wise, not that many people died, okay? But we got another one coming, maybe, right? The monkeypox is there's 3 states that have declared a state of emergency. Those 3 states being California, New York, and Illinois. Just so happens that those 3 states also happen to be homes to some of the biggest metropolitan areas that have ever existed. It's almost like we shouldn't have those. It's almost like diseases spread much easier when great numbers of people are condensed into small proximities, like an island named Manhattan, or maybe a small place called Chicago or Los Angeles. You follow what I'm saying? So they're already in states of emergency over this new thing. But when I started the show, I had a little bit more of a grandiose idea in my head. I still do as time goes on. I should say I still do when it comes to future plans and what happens. But the show has changed its shape. When I first started off, I started with, maybe some of you remember, I started with 3 episodes a week, 2 guests, and 1 episode alone on Sundays. And I liked doing the Sunday solo episode. I thought it would have been a good idea. At the end of the day, you have an episode. And I would release it not in the morning, but in the evening. And that was my idea. But as time went on, 2 guests was too much, and I announced that we were only going to do 1 guest a week on the Election Day episode when I had John Larkin and special guest Rafael Adames, and we followed the election. We put it on the TV. John talked to me about that. Was a good episode, very good episode. And the guest model was what I wanted to roll with that time because I had an actual guest-friendly setup. I had a table. We could sit across from each other, and this was the beginning setup, the very early setup that I ran with until April of 2021 when we moved to a 2-bedroom. And one of the bedrooms was used as the podcast room. That still today is the best setup, the best studio I've had, and probably will have for a little while. Yes, I'm excited for the new ideas that are coming for the show in terms of how it looks. But that past setup is kind of undefeated. You know, it was very much conducive to a group being able to speak to each other, being able to have guests on the show. What I have now, I don't want guests, guys. I don't want guests. I don't want to talk on Zoom with everybody. I don't want to do that shit. I like to have people in person. My idea for the show when I moved here was to have someone sitting across from me on the futon, and I'm sitting here. And I don't like it. I don't like it. And some will come. We'll have guests, sometimes here and there, comedians probably, friends visiting. There's a chance that before I do Broadway Comedy Club, me and a friend might do a podcast. There's a chance. But every time I say that I'm going to have a guest, something happens and it doesn't, whatever. But as the show started to take over more of my life, I allowed it. I allowed it to. And now I spend more time than ever on the show. But before, it was more time spent on getting guests and worrying about the guests being interesting and, that type of thing. Now that I don't look for guests and I do 2 episodes a week, just me, rather than 1 episode a week, just me, for a half hour. Now I do it for 2 hours. It's the preparation is different. Also, I release more on YouTube than I ever have. I've been fairly consistent with dropping new content every day, Monday through Friday. and then I'm also active on social media more than ever. It's definitely taken up more of my life than it was at one point, mainly because of the structure of the show. And I leave all options on the table. One day, if I'm able to get it to a place where I can get guests that I want, and my setup is conducive to that, and we can do it in person, then we'll do it. That'll be good. But until then, I'm rocking it this way. I'd love a co-host. There's a possibility of one in the future. But until then, this is how we're rocking, motherfuckers. And it's just interesting to see how the show has kind of changed I even changed the description of the show, where before it was very much me trying to be, a conversationalist, trying to be a Joe Rogan, right? Taking over that model. And that's a great model to have. And I still do enjoy having friends on and getting drunk and saying outrageous things. And those make for phenomenal, fun podcasts. And that's what I'm looking for. But that's not where I'm at right now. However, I'm not too concerned with having an interesting person sitting across from me anymore. I don't care to speak to professors. As fun as it was, the show has morphed and it's changed and it's become what it is now. A maniac sitting in his house screaming about the shit that's going on in the world. And I thank you guys for 2 years allowing me to be creative and entertaining me. Thank you so very much from the bottom of my black fucking what's the word I'm looking for? Pruned heart. Pruned when you go in the water and your shit gets all sucked up. That's what I was imagining. And thank you guys for playing along. Thank you guys for listening to the show as much as you can. And I want to start this episode we've already started the episode, but I like to take this 2-year anniversary to wish rest in peace to a man that we lost, a doctor, a leader, a revolutionary. Some of you may have heard that we have killed the leader of ISIS. Well, he's dead now, so he's not the leader anymore. Ayman al-Zawahiri. He's gone, guys. He's gone. Aren't we happy that we killed the leader of Al-Qaeda, a terrorist group that we haven't thought of since we killed Osama 10 years ago? Isn't it interesting how we just kind of pick a guy? We pick a guy from a terrorist group that people aren't really too worried about anymore. Obama got Osama, all right? That was the big one. They got him after a long time, arguably past the prime of when people were worried about him. Same thing with Saddam. Saddam Hussein was hiding in a fucking hole. They got him, right? They were able to get him, but the CIA was able to go in and get this guy. And thank God they did, because if not, what would Joe Biden have? What leverage would he have to get reelected? Because he's not doing a great job, right? He's not doing a great job. Trump didn't do a great job, but he went ahead and killed the leader of ISIS, the enemy that we haven't really cared about for a while. And Al-Qaeda is even lower down on that fucking list. Al-Qaeda is even lower down on that list. Isn't it great when we just pick a random terrorist group, one that we don't really care about? We don't care about anymore, and their threats aren't that bad. This is how backwards Biden is, though, right? This is how backwards the current administration is. This is how desperate they are, because they know they're not doing a great job, guys. They're not doing a great job. They went back into the country that we were at for 20 years. 20 years the United States was in Afghanistan. Our current president, who does have brain damage, okay? I'm not a Biden guy. I'm not a Trump guy. I don't care who the fuck's in the office. I don't give a fuck who does what. They're all slimy fucking reptiles and who don't have our interests at heart, okay? Just understand that point. Doesn't matter who you vote for, what you do. They don't have your interest at heart, guys. All they have at heart is their desire for power, and they're going to use it, okay? They don't want to give it up. That's what it is. They think that they're in there doing something when they're not. They're really not. All they're doing on either end is burdening the lives of the people that they're in charge of. Okay? Understand that. And it gets greater and greater and bigger and bigger. The schemes get bigger at the highest fucking levels. The stakes get bigger. So what you have really is picking and choosing people to kill strategically so that your numbers go up. Your acceptance rate goes up. And now that we've killed the leader of Al-Qaeda, again, a group that nobody cares about, there will be people, the red-blooded Americans, that say, well, we got them. Oh, yeah, we got them. That's good. Biden, well, motherfucker, he done something well. Thank God Joe Biden went ahead and took out Al-Qaeda. Can't afford anything. Can't afford to live in the country. Nuclear war is imminent. And the environment is being destroyed every goddamn day. A president can't answer questions about numbers or in general. But at least he killed the leader of Al-Qaeda. God bless America. That's really what it is, guys. And if you don't know that, then I'm sorry. But what's funny is that, again, to go back to my last point, this is how desperate they are. They went to a country that we were at for 20 years, made, I don't know, no headway, because after they left, the Taliban just took Kabul back easily, just took the motherfucker back, waited in the wings until we left horribly, till we left Americans there. We left, journalists, American journalists there to be beheaded and captured and whatever else. There's probably still people there. We did a terrible job of leaving. That's the point I'm making. We did a terrible job of leaving, and this cabinet is so desperate that they went back to go kill the leader of a terrorist group that we haven't thought about in decades. Literally decades. This guy has been the leader of the Taliban since 2011 when Osama was taken away. When he was taken away from the grasp. And he's been the leader. He's been the leader for, 11 years? Okay, that's a pretty long time. It's a pretty long time, and he's been on the run for over 24 years. He's avoided capture, and he has avoided imprisonment for 24 plus years. So why was it so easy to send a drone to the home that he was staying at in the capital of Afghanistan? They killed him with a drone in his house in the capital of Afghanistan. You're going to tell us that it was hard to get him? It was hard to get. If you motherfuckers were really looking for him, you would have found him 24 plus years. You guys knew. These guys understand. It's like, we're going to put it on the back burner. It's the tried and true method it's just like being a comedian, guys. It's just like when you lose the audience, you got to start pulling out some of your tried and true material. You got to start pulling out the shit that you've been working on for over a year. The stuff that you know will work and it'll get the crowd back on your side. For world politics, it's choosing who to kill. Who do we kill? When do we kill? Don't kill that guy because soon enough, somebody will need to. It was hard. He was hard to catch. Really, he was hard to catch. Something tells me Biden said, well, how about we, how about, and then Kamala piped up and said, how about we kill the leader of Al-Qaeda? And he said, yep, let's do it. And then she called someone on the phone, someone pressed a button, and 30 minutes later, leader of Al-Qaeda is dead. Ratings are slightly boosted. Yahoo. Yippee. But this guy, he's not as sexy as Osama bin Laden. He's not as, people gravely didn't like Osama bin Laden because he had a hand in 9/11. So did this guy. This guy oversaw a lot of what happened in 9/11, but he was the background guy. Osama was the poster boy. People were like, this guy that got killed, he's not cool enough to be on the cover of Time magazine. He's not enough of a global terrorist and a global criminal to get people to buy magazines with his face on the front of it. Now, I'm sure Osama was on the front of some Time magazines. There's been some fucked up choices for the cover of Time magazine. I'm pretty sure Hitler was on the cover of Time magazine. That could be a lie, but I wouldn't fucking doubt it. I wouldn't doubt it. If someone said, "Did you know Hitler was on the cover of Time magazine?" I'd go, "Oh, really? Yeah, that makes sense." Him and everybody else that murders in great numbers, but also leads a big group of people. But, man, listen, this guy, he was a surgeon. He got caught along the wrong road. Yes, he started his first terrorist agency in his 20s. I understand. He started early. And he found a buddy. He found a confidant, a companion in Osama, and they worked together. And now he's been taken. He's been taken. And here on the Smoking Simian, I just want to say, I want to extend my condolences to his family and his followers and the people that really cared about him. Yes. And what better way to do it than on the 2-year anniversary of the show? Now, I read an article recently that there was a study by Harvard, which is going to make this very, very ironic. The article is talking about it's an economic study. One that, when I tell you what it's about, you're going to say, Harvard took the time to study this? Yes, they did. Harvard spent their time, their resources, their brain power on this project. And the project being the results that they found. If you want to be rich, you need to befriend rich people. What? Really? If you want to be rich, you need to befriend wealthy people. Now, where do you get that idea? You mean to tell me hanging out at a pool hall where people are betting for $5 and hits of crack and bumps, they're betting? You mean to tell me the future CEO of J.P. Morgan isn't sitting in that room? Really? That's an interesting take. It took an Ivy League study, an Ivy League economic study to figure that out? But it was interesting. It was an interesting read. What they find is that the friends that you make are what determine your wealth mobility, I think the word was. Your upward wealth mobility. Depending on how many rich people you know, how well you integrate with them in your community, in your institutions, like schools, the more inclusive a place that everyone frequents is, the more inclusive of all classes, the higher the chance of meeting wealthier people and networking and eventually getting more opportunities. So basically what they're saying is you're poor because everyone you know is poor, and that your opportunity to meet rich people is low because you're poor. You're not going to be hanging out at the, at the Four Seasons Hotel in Las Vegas, right? You're not going to be meeting people at the Ritz-Carlton because you can't afford it, right? You're not going to be there. Now, another point was that they make a lot of wealthy people meet their friends in college. They meet their friends in college, which is something that we all know. If you're poor, you can't afford it. If you're poor and you want to go to college, you can either plunge yourself into massive debt, which will make you even less inclined to wealth, or you could go to the army. You could go to the army, you could go to the military, you could serve your time, you hope you don't go to war, and you can get yourself an education. You can go and get yourself an education, but you have a dedication, you have a commitment to the country, you have a commitment to go get murdered after they've given you what it is that you've wanted. Here's a bunch of money, here's some opportunity, go ahead. And now the article goes into restructuring different institutions like schools to accompany different types of classes, to get kids that eat peanut butter and jelly every day because it's all their family can afford, to sit next to the kids who are eating a filet mignon topped with a foie gras butter and a side of whipped cheddar potatoes with chives and a strawberry shortcake that was made from fucking Ratatouille himself. They need to be rubbing elbows together. They need to be taking the bus together. Because that will give more of a, it'll allow people from different socioeconomic conditions to meet each other. Now that sounds like a cute idea. That sounds like a very cute idea. But I would love to hear the patriarch of the Williamson family, when he hears that his kid is going to be going to the school with the same kid from the South Side. I would like to hear that. I would like to hear how they feel that they are paying taxes out of the ass to live in a beautiful suburban 30,000-foot fucking mansion in the middle of some beautiful fucking place, pristine, no crime, nobody's ever worried. Okay, the kids that get into drunk driving accidents go the town over, and they go there and they kill people and they have vehicular manslaughter there. But over here, nobody does anything. It's beautiful. We pay taxes. The roads are nice. I want to hear what that father is going to say when he knows that a kid whose family is pretty much on welfare, they're rubbing elbows with their kid. That's why it'll never happen, right? That's why this is a very idealistic view of what this is, right? Now, that's the idea, restructuring schools. That's where they want to start. They want to start with that. They want to start with the kids getting together, hanging out. So, I don't know if these people remember when they were kids. Kids are ruthless, okay? Kids don't give a fuck about money or about your home life and the problems you live in. Kids will do and say whatever the fuck you want, whatever the fuck they want. So when a younger boy whose family doesn't have the money and he comes in with a pair of old Converses, best believe that the kids from the nicer side of the tracks are going to bury that fucking kid. They're going to bury him for wearing those things. It just doesn't work, guys. There's classes for a reason. Now, here's an idea that I think would help. Get a job as a butler. Get a job as a cocktail waiter in the Ritz-Carlton, in a really expensive hotel. Be a doorman in a really expensive hotel. Okay? If you want to rub elbows with expensive people, then you're going to have to wait on them hand and foot. There's going to never be a situation where you will have someone who is poor as a motherfucker hanging out with someone that's rich as a motherfucker in the same place. It won't happen, guys. It won't happen. This goes back to royalty. It goes back to the idea of humans knowing and realizing that there's certain aspects in life that they have just bested people in. We've got all the money. We've got all the gold. Maybe we hate our lives. Maybe our wives cheat on us. Maybe our kids cheat on us. But we rule the fucking world. Okay? We rule the world. We pay the most into taxes. We're going to reap those benefits. All right? We're not going to... Plus, who do you think runs all these organizations? Some of them are state-run. I understand there are some state schools, but a lot of these schools get a lot of money from the rich folk. They get some big donations from the rich folk. The rich folk come in and donate a library, and they say, we don't want any of those kids, those ratty kids down in here. I know you guys are trying to switch districts and figure out bus routes to get those kids in here. You better not. You better not. And I'll drop another $30,000 in your pocket to make sure that that doesn't happen. And that's what'll happen, right? That's what's going to happen. I mean, what are you going to do? Set up a committee? Set up some kind of a committee? A nationwide committee that is dedicated to getting children to mingle with the class above or below. Doesn't happen, guys. Children mimic. Children mimic. Whatever situation they come from, they mimic. Now, another thing it said is there's not famous people, rich people, wealthy people. They have more friends. Shocker. Big shocker. They have more friends. I'm sure it has nothing to do with their ever-growing bank account. I'm sure it has nothing to do with the endless opportunities they could give their friends and the people that are scratching and clawing to get at them. Whereas people of low income, their friends are met in their neighborhood. Their friends are met in free ways. The neighborhood kids, they grow up together. Maybe they go to school together. Maybe they don't. Maybe they met at a basketball park and they ended up being friends. But that's how it is. You have a couple friends. You grow up with them. You guys are, I didn't grow up in a poor family, but we definitely didn't have, we're not wealthy. I live in a nice house because my grandmother paid for it. She's got money. She's got hella money. But my parents, they've worked hard their whole life, but they're not wealthy by any chance, by any stroke of imagination. We lived in an apartment until I was 12 years old. No problem with it. But it's, we don't come from that class. If I was rich as fuck, I wouldn't want me right here to hang out with me, rich as a motherfucker. What am I going to provide to that guy? What am I going to... Hey, you want to go to half-off apps at Applebee's? You want to get $5 margs at this Mexican place? We can get sloshed and get $5 margs and then drive home and get McDonald's. You want to do that? How about that? Yeah, just throw me $5 for gas. We can go ride in my Impala that I've had for 7 years. My 15-year-old car that is a piece of shit. Yeah, let's go. Me and you, let's go. We'll smoke a blunt. How about we smoke a blunt? How about we do that? Oh, no, not medical. Just weed, just regular weed. Yeah, we can do that. We can make that happen. No, they don't do the same things. It would be preposterous to expect a wealthy person to diminish themselves in any way to fit into a box to hang out with people who aren't wealthy. It's just an idealistic concept that'll never happen. Now, one institution, one gathering that allowed for, or what they found allowed for greater, or I should say less class discrimination is religious gatherings. Religious gatherings, there's no discrimination. Well, that could be true. That could be true in the actual physical gathering. Sure, you could have a rich guy sitting next to a poor guy in a church. But that rich guy is making donations, and that rich guy is going to get a different kind of treatment. Yeah, there's mingling, right? There's mingling. But how many times have you met a person, you just met a person somewhere, how many times have you guys exchanged information and became good friends? Especially at a church. Ugh, God, I don't want to meet those people at all. You mean to tell me the only place where poors and rich can get together is in a church? Fuck. I'll stay out of that shit. I will stay out of that shit. What about the military? The military is almost exclusively for the poor. You're not going to get a rich guy going to the military. Maybe. If their father was a distinguished general or a distinguished member of the military, then maybe they go. Maybe they go to West Point. All right, they got some money. But 80% of the time, the military preys on poor people. Right? Why do they always send the poor? What's the other one? In War Pigs. Why would they go out to fight there? They only started the war. Something about being poor after that. But either way, they leave their all to the poor. Yeah. Yeah, right? They're not going to go. They're not targeting the Beverly Hills kids. They're not going to the Hamptons and with an ROC, recruitment officer. You know, they're not doing that. They don't have that. So that's it. This is a very idealistic idea, very idealistic concept, because until the end of time, guys, unless we reach some other kind of consciousness where money doesn't matter, which will never happen. Okay, let's be honest, that'll never happen unless the monetary system completely gets wiped out, and in that case, the world is over. Right? The people aren't going to be able to deal with that. But there isn't going to ever be some higher fucking, oh, goodness, I'm a big man, I've got billions and billions of dollars, I'm going to rub elbows with a guy that works at Stop and Shop. It's not going to happen. A Stop and Shop manager's kid is not going to be in the same situation as a kid whose dad is a CEO of Stop and Shop, okay? It's just not going to happen. It's not real. And it's funny that a school like Harvard did this. Do you think Harvard is going to start accepting kids from Dade County in Miami? You think that? You think they're going to start having white kids that say the N-word walking around there? They made a movie about the movie How High. They made a movie about that. Two black guys who had no business being at Harvard. The dean wanted everything. He wanted to get them the fuck out of there. The only reason they were able to make it happen was because one of them was actually pretty smart. Method Man figured out his serum, his truth serum, and he made it happen, and he was able to stay at Harvard. But in real life, they don't want that shit. Nobody wants that shit. They look at the poor as the help. Get the help. Get this guy in here. Somebody threw up on the floor. Get the guy who threw up a bump. Get him back. He's got 16 ladies to go fuck in that room. They got to lick caviar off his asshole. Okay, wake him up and get that immigrant schlub over here to wipe up his vomit. That's about $300 worth of gin martinis right there. They're so expensive because the gin came from atop a mountain. And there's a little old Japanese man that climbs the mountain every day, grabs the juniper berries, comes down, makes the gin, bottles it up, and sells it. By the time it gets here, it costs a whole lot of money. And that guy drank a bunch of them. So get him some blow. Get this kid to clean the motherfucker. Give him $10, and let's keep this party rolling. Interesting. But nonetheless, it is good advice, right? It is good advice. It is at very least something that we could try as individuals, knowing that being with wealthy people, being around wealthy people would have a positive effect on your upward trajectory when it comes to making money, making a little bit of money, because you get opportunities. This article is basically saying that it's not the conditions that people live in. It's not the conditions. It's the lack of opportunity of meeting wealthy people, which brings me back to my initial suggestion. You live in a shit place, start taking the bus to a nice place and work there. Work there. Fuck it. Become a housekeeper at the Ritz-Carlton. Realistically, that's going to be the only way that happens, because it's not going to be social clubs where people can rub elbows. Middle class rubbing elbows with super rich doesn't exist. Doesn't exist, guys, and it never will. But, again, good advice. Very good advice. I think it's good because it's all anyone wants. Everyone wants to be rich, or you want to be famous. And if there's literature out there that can help you get that, well, then goddamn, I'm here for it. I'm here for it, and I hope you make it. Another interesting article I read, Germany, a country that is notorious for putting people in ovens and burning them, can't afford to do it right now. Now, I'm, of course, not talking about the Holocaust, maybe a little bit, but they, in Germany, most of the funeral proceedings aren't burials, they're cremation. So crematoriums, which, by the way, Side note, sounds like a very, very fun place. Let's just the name, right? Let's go to the crematorium. Sounds like an ice cream shop. The crematorium. I'm going to get a fudgy milkshake with sprinkles. Maybe some whipped cream on top. The crematorium. They could have chose a more daunting name. You're burning bodies. You're burning dead bodies and turning them into ash. Putting them in urns. Putting them in necklaces. Call it something a little scarier. The Big Bernie House. Call it that. I don't know. But they, over there, most of the people, I think the stat was 3/4 of the deaths are cremations. Now, before I get into why they can't afford to do this, aren't death rituals weird? You guys know my stance on rituals and traditions and that type of thing. But so many different cultures do so many different things. I mean, the Germans aren't exclusive to cremation. Everyone does it. But in America, we spend we do most of our deaths as funerals. Well, I shouldn't say that, as burials. We bury most of our dead, which is interesting because we keep these big, large plots of land, and underneath, we bury this chemically treated wood that is filled with the remains of a person whose soul has left their body. And on top of that fucking that hole of death that we've created, we fill it up and we put a big stone in there to remember them by. Isn't that just a little wasteful? Isn't it a little wasteful? No wonder people flood out cemeteries to make reservoirs. Not just cemeteries, they flood out entire towns. But what happens is these towns, they get flood out for reservoirs, and they don't account for the fucking thousands of dead people that are underground, so the area gets haunted. Then you have a place like the Quabbins. Quabbins, haunted place, yada, yada, yada. Interesting, very interesting. But there's so many, there's got to be ways that I don't even know that people deal with their dead. I know there's some cultures where they will leave the body for a while. I know they'll leave the body for the viewing for a while. Like people coming in and out, licking the formaldehyde off their face, just watching, looking. It's got to be a waste of space, cemeteries. Are they not? You want to go back to the grave? You're going to go back to the grave. I don't know. I'm not saying that there should be nothing done, but there's been some cool ones, right? Like I always think of Hunter S. Thompson getting blown out of his ashes getting boom out of a fucking helicopter. Yeah, out of a helicopter, out of a cannon, out of a gonzo fist cannon. That's pretty fucking cool. Or now you can get planted into a tree. You can get put into a firework. Isn't that fucking disgusting? They blast you all around. And then I guess it's no different than what Hunter S. Thompson did. But there's a bunch of different ways that you could do. They killed Tupac. They spread his ashes out. And they smoked blunts and poured out, liquor for him. They spread his ashes out on the coast or something like that. It's interesting what we do with the dead. We treat it like it's not natural. When somebody dies, we treat it like it's not supposed to happen. Bill Russell just died, 88 years old. The other guy, Scully from the Dodgers, he was like 97. He just died. People, oh my God, he died? No way. So when the fuck's he supposed to die? Motherfucker's old. Dude's old. Oh my God, he died. Goodness. Any age. Who gives a fuck? He was only 43. Okay, he died. He fucking died. You know how many people died early on in the early days of human, in the fucking medieval times? You know how hard it was to get old? If you were 30, you were old in those days. But now, because we have modern technology and modern medicine, and people want to live for much longer, and people are living longer than ever, and they will be able to live longer than ever, once gene editing comes along and CRISPR and all these things that will elongate the life of a human. Once the human steps away from the natural and steps into the machine, allows the technology to take over the body, then you'll live for a really long time. 150, 200 years. But it's not going to stop the fact that we check out of this motherfucker. And to me, a funeral, sure, a wake, it's a way to commemorate the life, right? You got to do something with the body. You can't just leave it in the hospital. But it is just the body, right? The person that was there, the person that you love, the person that was there for you is not the body that is laying before you. It is, but it's not. It's really the consciousness that was there. Now, does that consciousness die with the body? Maybe. Who knows? Maybe it goes somewhere else. Nobody will ever know. That's why they save it for last. It's the best ride, guys. They save it for last for a reason. Who knows what comes next? Nobody will be able to know. Nobody will be able to tell. Hopefully, something cool happens, at least. Hopefully something cool happens. And then watch what happens when it's cool as fuck. When it's cool as fuck, when you die and it's cool as fuck and you see everyone that you saw before and you miss them and whatever, and all that shit, or you go to some other dimension, or you're a completely different existence, whatever it is, how stupid will you feel that your entire life you were worried about it? You were worried about dying? Really? This shit is dope. What if it continues to a new life and you're like, wow, I get to do this again? Interesting. But anyway, Germany. Germany can't afford they can't afford to keep up with the dead due to the prices of gas. God damn it, Russia. God damn it. Fucking with Germany again. They can't afford to burn their dead. Do you understand that? A lot of people are dying. Lots of people are dying. Just in general. Lots of people are dying because there's more people on the planet than there's ever been. But people are dying. You're not stopping death, guys. It's impossible. And people got to do something with these bodies. We can bury them. We can burn them. But over there, they like burning them. There's something about the Germans. They just like burning them. They like burning them so much that they have I wrote this down, a crematorium chairman. That's a job in Germany? That's how big of an industry crematoriums are. The crematorium chairman is worried. It's a big deal, guys. This is a big deal. What do you do with all the dead people? Realistically, what could you do? You could turn them into vegan products. I've always said that. Dead people, homeless people, you want to solve those problems, the criminally insane, turn them into vegan products. Just lie. Just lie and say that these are 100% vegan, didn't come from an animal, isn't an animal. Just go ahead and eat them. Just eat them. Because you might as well be doing that with some of those vegan products. If you're a real deal vegan, if you're a vegan who pays attention to what they eat, they try not to do the snacky bullshit, the impossible meat bullshit, that's one thing. But if you're a vegan who's eating snacks, then you're like a lesbian who gets fucked with a plastic dick. Okay? If you're a vegan that's eating Impossible Burgers, you're exactly that. You're a lesbian who likes to get fucked with a plastic dick. That's what it is. It's the same thing. You're supposed to be against it. You miss it now? Now you miss eating meat so bad that you're going to eat some shit that they made in a factory? You miss eating your snacks so bad that you're going to get some shit that has... It's just as bad for you. It's funny, because if you slap vegan on something and you look at the back and there's a bunch of ingredients that you can't pronounce, you don't know what they are, they sound like chemicals, they sound like something made in a lab. If you slap vegan on it, people will look at it and say, well, it's vegan. It's not that bad. But it's the same shit. If you look at the back of a Doritos bag, there's a bunch of shit on there that I'm pretty sure Doritos are vegan. But some other non-vegan fucking thing. Something with what about like a granola bar with cream, like the hardened yogurt or the cream or whatever on it. You know, that shit's made of a bunch of microplastic homogenized bullshit as well. You know, it's the same, but just because it says vegan, oh, it's vegan. Vegan, it's gluten-free. It's got all these things, all these qualities that make it more natural. All these qualities that make it seem like it's actually not that bad for you. So, what I say, with our dead, throw them in the vegan, make them the impossible meat. People won't know. People say, oh God, this tastes just like a Whopper. This Impossible Whopper tastes just like a Whopper. Ho, ho, ho. Impossible meat. Remember when the mystery meat, remember when you were in school and they had meatloaf or some shit and it looked all fucked up? Mystery meat. Now motherfuckers search for that shit. What's so different from impossible meat than mystery meat? What's so different about it? Mystery meat used to be like a negative connotation. Oh, God, what is this shit? What'd you make us? Some mystery meat? Now people go searching for that shit. Might as well take the dead, take the homeless, and let's start making some good eats. Let's start making some good eats. But what they think they're going to do is some of these crematoriums are going ahead and lowering the temperature of the ovens. They're lowering the temperature of the ovens 10 to 20% to reduce consumption of gas. They need to. They got to do something, guys. These are businesses. This is a big industry in Germany. Big industry in Germany. Ever since that whole fiasco in the 40s, it's taken off. They really liked it. They're like, all right, we definitely did too much to the Jews. They weren't dead, a lot of them. The gypsies, the gays, the lame, the handicapped, the kids, all of them. We did a little much, okay? They were alive. But we do like burning people. Let's make this the preferred method of death proceedings. What a strange predicament. What a strange predicament. They're also thinking of going electric. The move to electric is going to be next for them. What I want to know is why they're not going nuclear. Nuclear power. Supposedly, now I know nothing about energy. I know nothing about the goods and bads of all of them. What I hear is solar energy is expensive. I hear wind energy is expensive. Solar energy, you need a lot of it to make it work. Like, you can't power a fucking, a casino with solar. It would cost so much fucking money to do that. Same thing with wind. The whole nine. So, what I'm hearing is that, nuclear power is something that we're trying to harness. We're trying to harness it in a way that isn't dangerous, which is tough to think, right? That's tough to think about. Anytime you hear the word nuclear or nuke, people are a little uneasy, especially as of recent, right? Especially as of recent. But the U.S. has passed a new nuclear reactor, one that is smaller, cheaper, and able to be mass-produced. That's got to be nice. It's a smaller nuclear reactor, one that will cut costs. That's the thing. It's expensive, right? Supposedly nuclear power is expensive. Electricity is just the one that we've worked on for a while. We've had electricity in the fashion that we use it. We've had it the same way for decades and hundreds of years. Hundreds of years. And we've figured it out that way, which is why it's so cheap now. It's a lot cheaper than anything else, but we're realizing that it takes a lot, and then fossil fuels, Russia, the whole fiasco. We can't get cheap oil, natural gas is expensive. We got to figure something out. Nukes. And it makes me very happy knowing that now we can mass produce these small reactors. You know what mass production means, right? that means that more and more and more buildings and homes and businesses and communities will be adopting this method because they will be mass production means cheaper products. Could you imagine how much more expensive it would be to get an Xbox if it took a year to make one? You know? That's why Rolls-Royce, you gotta wait a couple years. You order it and it comes in because it's a specialized product. They don't mass produce them like Toyota Camrys. So now if they're gonna be able to make a much smaller nuclear reactor, just a small one, just a small little nuke powering your home, and the person next door, and the person next door, and the person next door, and the business next door, and the entire street, all the street lights are run by little individual nuclear reactors. That's got to be a recipe for fun. Wait till a wildfire hits that community. Wait for that. But there is a negative connotation, and I mean for good reason, right? Nobody wants to hear about nukes. Could you imagine years from now our homes being powered by nuclear power? I mean, my goodness. Again, I know nothing about it. It could be good, guys. It could be better than this. But it's a risky word. It's a risky move. You think of nuclear power, you think of fucking rocket ships, you think of bombs, you think of that big yellow symbol with the black triangles in the middle. You know the one. It's popping into your head right now. You think of the alarm, the nuke alarm. Bwamp, bwamp, bwamp. That's what you think of when you think of nuclear power in any capacity. Mass-produced or not. Safe or not. But, I mean, Russia's got motherfuckers exploring options. Russia has got people ready to power their homes with nukes, because if not, then we will be getting hit with nukes. Which brings me to another story. A very fun, I think, title to this story. World one step from nuclear annihilation. Now that's said by the UN somebody, Antonio Gutierrez, I think his name is. Let's see, Secretary General Antonio Gutierrez of the UN sounded the alarm over the war in Ukraine, nuclear threats in Asia and the Middle East, and other tensions, warning that humanity is just one misunderstanding, one miscalculation away from nuclear annihilation. One fucked up Starbucks order, and beep, 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 beep. All the countries, bang, 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 bang. That was supposed to be a double shot. Ah! Boom. One miscalculation, one misstep, one little fucked up movement, and you're screwed. We're all fucked up. If one thing if a hair goes slightly wrong, if Putin wakes up and he's got an extra hair, he's got an ingrown hair in his ball sack, that could be enough for him to start a nuclear war. Although he did pull back some of his comments. I don't know if you saw this. He did pull back, saying that a nuclear war isn't what we shouldn't fight it, and it's not something that we want. Even though a couple months ago you were gung-ho. You were very excited to drop nukes, weren't you, Putin? Weren't you ready to flex them peacock feathers in the form of nuclear warheads that could be sent to anywhere in the world in under 30 minutes? Weren't you ready to show those? What's that Katy Perry song? I wanna see your peacock, cock, your peacock. He was listening to that motherfucker. Now he's calmed down a little bit, I suppose. He wants to, he's retracting his statement a little bit. He wants to put people at ease. And then once China invades Taiwan, then they'll say, all right, let's revamp this shit. Time to open it up. Let's open it up like a mosh pit. Ooh, open it up. Ooh, ah, whatever that fucking song is by the Migos. But this whole situation in the world, right? Obviously, what's going on in Russia, in Ukraine, there's been, nuclear talks there. Putin said something like, if anybody gets involved, there will be repercussions that motherfuckers have never seen before. Something like that, right? Just very threatening, very dick swinging, which is what it is. And he got people to back off. And now he's retracting his statement because he wants people back in. But anyway, that's going on there. North Korea is still testing shit out, and they're just a subsidiary of China. So they're figuring shit out. The Iran doesn't want to comply with the deal that they were given regarding nukes, I guess, since the last time they reviewed this 50-year-old treaty, this nuclear non-proliferation treaty, trying to prevent nukes and trying to prevent a nuclear world. But wait a second. What about nuclear power? What about that? We're going to get rid of that? I thought that was supposed to be the cutting edge. I thought that was supposed to get us over the hump. We're supposed to stray away from the fossil fuels that are destroying the planet, the natural gas that is destroying the planet. Take some of the power away from Russia. We got to start mass producing these nuclear-powered things. Thank God for free enterprise, and thank God that the UN can't get involved in free enterprise. But this treaty is basically something that's been around for 50 years, and it's basically saying that we're going to try and not nuke each other, which is tough. That's tough. That's like telling a kid, don't eat this candy. You promised me you wouldn't eat this candy. This candy's right here, okay? This candy's in a bowl on the table. Don't fucking eat it. Don't eat it. I don't care how much you want it. I don't care how much you want to take it from your brother. Don't eat it. Right? That's tough, guys. That's tough. Waving nuclear annihilation and world domination over the head of some of the sick motherfuckers that run this world and saying, hey, let's pinky promise. Let's pinky promise that we don't do this. We all signed this treaty, right? Let's pinky promise. It's tempting. It's hard. How are we going to save the environment if we can't use nuclear power? What about the Sky Cruise? Remember the Sky Cruise? I spoke about that a little while ago. The Sky Cruise. What about that? That thing's supposed to be nuclear powered. That's supposed to be a nuclear powered aircraft that nobody flies, that carries thousands of people on it 24/7. You follow what I'm saying? That is what's supposed to be. That's supposed to be the future. How are we going to do that if we can't have nuclear power, if the world is not nuclear? I don't know. But I don't know if I needed an article to tell me that there's a high chance for nuclear annihilation. But it is always nice hearing the leader of a world organization like the UN, not the leader, but a high-ranking official in the UN, it's always great when they use the word annihilation. Annihilation is a heavy word, especially to be said amongst global politics. Very, very tough. Very tough. But nonetheless, guys, it's what we're dealing with. It's what we're trying to get through. And maybe we will, maybe we will not. But all I know is that as long as I'm alive, this podcast will keep going. We will keep doing it. And it'll be great. And I was planning on going a lot longer for today's episode. I wasn't really planning. As I was doing it, I was like, we can go longer. But I don't want to. So, go fuck yourself. No. That's it for today. I like to end on a happy note. Nuclear annihilation is a great word, and maybe that'll be the name of today's episode. Why not? Fuck it. Fuck it. 220, baby. Episode 220. 220 episodes in 2 years. That's pretty goddamn good. That's pretty goddamn good. It's 110 episodes a year. 110 episodes a year. You believe that? But no, it was, guys, you know I fuck around. I know the reach of this show. I'm not an idiot. I'm realistic about these things. I am not someone who's going to go and try to get money for a show like this because it's not big enough. I understand. There's people who listen. There's people who don't. There's way more who don't. But it's still regardless of what motherfuckers say, it's still at the ground level. Anything that you've done that you've been good at has taken a long time. You guys know what I'm talking about out there. You guys, whatever it was, if you played baseball from when you were a kid to when you graduated high school, you got to that point because it took you a long time. Think about, that's what it is. We don't think about how long it takes us because a lot of the things that we did for a long time, we started as children. And as children, you don't think about it. You just go. You go to baseball practice. You go to dance class. You go to fucking guitar lessons. You just go. You just go and you practice, and that's it. You don't really think about it. And then so many years pass, and you're like, wow, I've been doing this a really long time. So when I think to myself, like, wow, I'm not making much progress with this show. I'm not, whatever. Same thing with comedy. I've only been doing this 2 years, guys. 2 years. The things that the things that I think I do well, I've done for a long time. Fucking martial arts. I've done it since I was 5, guys. And I've taken a hiatus from training for a while, but 20 years. 20 years. I'm good at that because I've done it for 20 years. And we get worried once we get to a certain age to do something for 20 years again. But understand that we got all the time in the world. Nuclear annihilation is upon us. And soon enough, all we'll have is our hobbies. All we'll have are the things that don't require money, that don't require social interaction, that don't require anything but you and an object. Maybe not even an object. You and a skill set. And you'll have all the time in the world because you won't be able to go outside. We'll be in bunkers underground. Or maybe we'll be on another planet. One that we haven't found a way to inhabit correctly. So many people will die, but some of you will live. And there may be fun. There may be things to have had. There may be things and luxuries to have. But understand that with nuclear annihilation on the menu, you got time. And not only do you have time, but you have an incentive. You have an incentive to try something new. You have an incentive to spend 20 years on something or 10 years on something just to see. Just to see. And that's what it is, motherfuckers. Have a good day. Talk to you Monday. Hey, I'm back to reiterate all the stuff that I said at the top of the show. Follow and subscribe. Bye-bye.